Hello everyone. Do you know a single muscle name can tell you a whole story? From its location, size, shape, even its function. It's all hidden right there in the name. So in this video, I will show you how much information you can unlock just by understanding the name of the muscle. So let's dive in. Let's do an interesting calculation about the forearm muscle. The forearm has a total of 20 muscles, which includes flexors, extensors, supinator, and pronator. Out of this, only 5 muscles act directly on the forearm, while the remaining 15 muscles act on the hand. Among those 15 muscles, 6 muscles act on the wrist, and among them, 3 are flexors and 3 are extensors. In the remaining 9 muscles, 3 muscles act on the finger except the thumb, because thumb is special and it has its own set of 4 muscles, which are called the extrinsic muscles of the thumb. And finally, the last 2 muscles here, the 1 muscle act on the little finger and 1 muscle act on the index finger. So just by counting, you can see how the forearm muscles are perfectly organized for the hand and fingers movement. Now let's talk about the muscles acting on the forearm. The first one is brachioradialis. Even from its name, we can learn a lot. Brachioradialis, the brachio word comes from the Greek word brachion, which means arm, and radialis refers to the radius bone, indicating that this muscle originated from the humerus, the arm bone, and insert in the radius. And its action is to flex the forearm at elbow joint and based in mid-prone position. Just think about lifting a mug of beer or coffee or a drink. A simple way to remember this by the letter B, R. B for beer and R for rising. You can remember this action by beer mug rising. And now here's something interesting. Functionally, it's a flexor muscle, but it's located in the extensor compartment of the forearm. So actually, it breaks the rule. The another muscle acting on the forearm is anconius. The name anconius comes from the Greek word ankon, that means bend of the arm or elbow. And this tells exactly where the muscle is, on the posterior surface of the elbow. And its main function is simple. It extends the forearm at the elbow joint. Now the muscle we will discuss is the supinator. The word supinator comes from the Latin word supinare, which means to turn upward. The name itself tells its action, supination of the forearm and turning the palm of the hand upward. So a little tip to remember, the word up is actually inside the supinator, which makes it easy to recall that this muscle turns the palm up. Now let's look at the last 2 forearm muscles, pronator teres and pronator quadratus. First, the pronator teres. The name pronator comes from the Latin word pronate, that means the lying face downwards, which tells you exactly what it does. It pronates the forearm and turning the palm down. And teres is a Latin word and its meaning round or cylindrical, and it indicates its shape. Now pronator quadratus. The pronator is the same, meaning is same, and quadratus comes from a Latin word which means square. And these 2 muscles' job to pronate the forearm and turn the palm of the hand downwards, which is the opposite of the supinator. So just from their names, you can tell both their shape and function of these muscles. Now let's talk about the muscles acting on the wrist. Unlike the muscles acting on the forearm, these muscles having a long name. There are 6 of them, 3 are flexors and 3 are extensors. The first one is flexor carpi radialis. Let's break down its name. Flexor indicates its action of flexion. Carpi comes from Greek word karpos, which means wrist joint, and radialis indicates its position in the radial side of the forearm. It is a flexor of wrist joint which lies on the radial side of the forearm. Next is flexor carpi ulnaris. The flexor and carpi, the explanation is same. Only ulnaris indicates its position in the ulnar side of the forearm. and right in between them there is a muscle which name is palmaris longus. The palmaris longus means it is the long muscle of the palm. These three muscles are the main flexor of the wrist. Now let's move on the extensor muscles of the wrist. Just like the flexor, there are three of them. The first one is extensor carpi radialis longus. Let's break down its name. Extensor indicates its action of extension. Carpi means we already know wrist joint, so it acts on wrist joint. Radialis indicates this position in the radial side of the forearm, and longus means long. It indicates its length, that is, it is the longer of two of the radial extensor. So there is another extensor which is named extensor carpi radialis brevis. It lies beside the extensor carpi radialis longus. Again, the extensor carpi and radialis, the explanation are same, and brevis means is shorter than the other one. It is the short extensor of the wrist which lies on the radial side of the forearm. And last one is extensor carpi ulnaris. And we already know what does extensor and carpi means, and ulnaris indicates its position in the ulnar side of the forearm. So it is the extensor of the wrist which lies on the ulnar side of the forearm. So these three muscles work together to extend the wrist. Here is an interesting fact about these wrist muscles. Unlike many of other muscles in the forearm, they don't reach the finger. That's because their job is very specific. They only act on the wrist joint. So while they are powerful enough to flex or extend your wrist, they leave fingers movement to the other muscles deeper in the forearm. Now let's see the muscles act on the finger except the thumb. The first muscle is the flexor digitorum superficialis. Now let's break down the name. Flexor means its action of flexion on the digitorum means the Latin digitorum comes from the Latin word digitus, which means finger, where it acts. And superficialis indicates its superficial position in compared to the other finger flexor muscle lie deeper in the forearm. And that deeper muscle name is flexor digitorum profundus. So here flexor and digitorum we already know their meaning. Just profundus, which is a Latin word and which means deep, because these profundus muscles lie underneath the superficialis muscle. Now here's something really important. The flexor digitorum superficialis and flexor digitorum profundus, they work together, and when they contract at the same time, they flexes the finger and they give you that strong coordinated motion that needs to flex the entire finger, and that's how you are able to form a firm grip. Now let's look at the main muscle that extend the finger, the extensor digitorum. Here the extensor indicates its action of extension, and digitorum we know already comes from Latin word digitus, which means finger. So this muscle extend the fingers, and this muscle lies on the back of the forearm and send tendons to the fingers. Its job is opposite to the flexor muscles. While the flexor bend your fingers to grip, and extensor digitorum opens them back up. And now let's talk about the muscle which acting on the thumb. The first one is flexor pollicis longus. Here flexor indicates its action of flexion. Pollicis comes from the Latin pollex, which means thumb, and longus means longus indicates its size. That is, it is a long muscle of the thumb. Now its action is flexor of the thumb. The interesting thing is this muscle only developed in the human. It is a hallmark of human evolution. Now let's look at another muscle of the thumb, that is abductor pollicis longus. Here the abductor indicates its action of abduction, that is moving the thumb away from the midline, and we all know about the pollicis and longus. Its job is to abduct the thumb, which means moving the thumb away from the palm. Like when you spread your hand open, the next muscle is extensor pollicis longus. And here extensor indicates its action of extension. Pollicis is the thumb, and longus means it is a long thumb muscle. Now in between these two muscle, the another small muscle lies, that is extensor pollicis brevis. Here extensor and pollicis are same, and brevis means short in compared to the longus. And these two extensor muscles act together and to give you a smooth control extension of the thumb. Now discuss the last two muscles of the forearm. The first one is act on the little finger. This name is extensor digiti minimi. Here extensor indicates its action of extension. Digiti is digit, and minimi come from the Latin word minimus, that is the smallest, and it indicates its position in the little finger. Its tendon goes to the fifth finger, and its main job is to extend the little finger. Now the last muscles of the forearm, that is that acts on the index finger, that name is extensor indicis, and it is a small muscle. Here extensor indicates its action of extension, and indicis means index finger. So its main job is to extend the index finger independently and giving you precise control. That's why you can point your index finger even while the rest of your fingers stay flexed, and this thanks goes to extensor indicis. Now let's take a look at the complete list of the forearm muscle. To make them simple, let's separate them into flexors and extensor. First, in the flexor compartment, this includes all the muscles on the front of the forearm that are flexors and pronator. And why pronator lies with them? Because during the development, the pronator lie together with the flexor, and when they develop properly, they come to the anterior or flexor compartment. And in the posterior or extensor compartment, muscle includes all the muscles that lie back of the forearm, that are the extensor and supinator muscle. Because supinator develops with the extensor group of the muscle, that's why they also stay here. Now let's separate the flexor muscles into different layers. The pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus, flexor carpi ulnaris. They lie in the superficial layer, and they usually originate from the medial epicondyle. The fun way to remember them, you can remember these mnemonics: pass, fail, pass, fail. So first pass for pronator teres, then fail for flexor carpi radialis, then again pass for palmaris longus, and last fail for flexor carpi ulnaris. Now, as the name suggests, the flexor digitorum profundus, where profundus means deep, along with flexor pollicis longus and pronator quadratus, they lie in the deep layer, and in between them the only one muscle lies, that is flexor digitorum superficialis. Now let's break down the extensor muscles of the forearm into the layers, just like we did for the flexors. Superficial layer, these muscles you can see on the surface, and most of them come from the lateral epicondyle. From lateral to medial, they are brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor digitorum, extensor digiti minimi, extensor carpi ulnaris, and anconius. These are lies in the superficial layer, and beneath them we have supinator, abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, extensor pollicis longus, and extensor indicis. So to summarize, in superficial layer, brachioradialis, wrist extensor, common finger extensor, and little finger extensor lies, and in deep, supinator, thumb muscles, and the index finger extensor lies. For the thumb muscle, all of the thumb muscle, flexor and extensor, they lies in the deep layer. So whenever you see name pollicis, you can understand they are come from the deep muscle layer. So in this video, we have seen how much information is hidden inside the names of the muscles, from their action to the part they act on, even their position, etc. This makes understanding the muscles anatomy much easier. We also looked at how the forearm muscles are arranged in layer, superficial, intermediate, and deep, which gives a clear picture how they work together. And if you enjoyed learning this way, make sure to like the video and subscribe my channel. And thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.